You're listening to STAGR Cast, brought to you by STAGR Gear.
Just go with
All right.
it. I'll go with it.
Welcome back to another episode of STAGR Cast, and we are back doing the full-length podcast. We've just been doing shorts lately, but we are back, and we are in Washington, Vermont tonight with a guest we've had on before, Jeremiah Trombly. Thanks for hopping on with us again.
My pleasure.
I know you've had a crazy season, so might as well get on here, tell some stories, and we always like sitting down with you. So yeah. I know Greg's got. What do you got on your mind over here,
Well,
Greg?
before we start, I mean, this isn't actually a podcast. We've talked to your family, and this is an intervention. And we believe you might be addicted to deer hunting.
A little bit.
This is a circle of trust here, and I want you to admit right now, for the whole world to hear, are you addicted to tracking bucks?
I am addicted to tracking bucks. I really am.
Is there any cure?
The next one.
Yeah, okay. All right.
That's fair. That's fair.
That's the cure. The next one.
Yeah, so after you killed the buck this year,
yeah.
you texted me that. He goes, you know, I'm addicted to this stuff. I forgot exactly what you said.
Would you say my name's Jeremiah, and I'm addicted
to this. Yeah. That was awesome. So, but yeah, you had one hell of a season, man. We're meeting here tonight. We got a few beers going. We're looking at some nice bucks.
Cooked us up some ribeye too. What was that? Jeez, we deserve some ribeye. That's crazy.
Some venison sausage. I mean, this was homemade mac and cheese. We've never been treated like this.
Got to make you feel welcome.
That was
I
awesome.
Appreciate
man.
it.
Right?
Yeah, it's a good time.
We'll be like, hey, you want to start doing this monthly?
Monthly podcast check-in.
Come on up.
Oh God.
Come on up.
So how do we want to start it off tonight? You had a crazy season ahead of you or behind you. You had 4 bucks, right? Any does this year?
No, I usually shoot does, but I started off shooting a buck first day, opening day of bow season. Mm-hmm. So my goal is to try to get 3 deer because we eat them. Mm-hmm. So typically I'm shooting does to eat them, but I shot a pretty good buck first 15 minutes of opening day of bow season. Yep. So I held off. I didn't even buy a second tag for bow hunting for a while. I ended up going out one other time, but I pretty much spent my October scouting is what I ended up doing, which was fun. Mm-hmm. I had a blast doing it. Spent a lot of time hiking.
Oh, yeah. That kind of coincided with the track pack thing because we had asked you before the season, did you mind wearing the track pack with a GoPro? Yeah. And we were getting all the frames together. Bow season had started, and you texted me.
I gave you a hard time. I said, hey, that would have been pretty cool because that was it was one of my best bucks in Vermont for sure. And it was like 10 to 12 yard shot. Would have been pretty cool.
Working a scrape too, right?
Working a scrape.
Wow.
October 1st.
That's crazy.
Probably 20 minutes after daylight. Plenty of light. It would have been plenty of camera light. It was not even remotely dark at all. But
we got
it's all good.
We put it in overdrive after that. We got you your
frame. We had to get caught up with the frames. Yeah. So you ran a frame for us this year, and we're going to have some of your videos out before too long. We'll get those edited up and go over them. But, yeah, starting off the first day of the season, you can't beat that.
Yeah.
And that freed up your whole October.
Freed up the whole October.
Yep.
And like I said, I spent a lot of time hiking in New Hampshire is what I ended up doing. I put a lot of miles on, and I do think that for sure helped because there was a lot of dry ground hunting to start. Muzzleloader and muzzleloader and rifle. I didn't see many deer, which is typical in New Hampshire. I saw two deer. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's all I saw. Two bucks. It was a weird year because I didn't see does. Never saw a doe bow hunting.
Really?
I bow hunted twice in Vermont, opening morning, and then I bought a tag later, and I purchased. I sat one other time here by the house, and I saw a spike horn. Mm-hmm. It's the only 2 times I hunted with a bow, and then New Hampshire for muzzleloader, all I saw was 1 deer. It was a spike horn.
Yep. No kidding. And never saw a doe, nothing?
Never saw a doe.
Jeez.
Never saw a doe. But admittedly, like you alluded to in the opening, I really wanted snow.
Yeah.
So I was hunting, but I was still scouting. I was still scouting.
Getting your legs under you, though.
Getting my legs under me. I was definitely prepared for this season. Mm-hmm. For sure, by doing that, by doing all that hiking.
Oh yeah.
Was it nice having that Vermont buck out of the way so you didn't have to think about
100%.
it?
100%.
Once snow's flying, you're never here really for the most part, are you?
Once the snow flies, I'm just going where the snow is.
Yeah.
That's my plan. Yeah. Is like wherever the snow is, and that's what I did this year. Mm-hmm. If there was snow, like even during the muzzleloader season here in New Hampshire, Maine got snow. So I left and went to Maine. Mm-hmm. So I made 2 trips to Maine. Of course, I hunted New Hampshire when I could, and or the other times, and 2 trips to Maine and 2 trips to New York.
Okay,
as well.
That's all it took. 2 and 2 for each of those. And you got a buck in each state.
Buck in each state,
which we'll have to dive into. But that New Hampshire buck you got, that was Bear Ground.
Bear Ground.
Yep.
Yep.
What was the story on that one?
Yeah, why don't you dive into this? This is a pretty cool story.
I'd gone into an area and did some scouting, and I put up a camera, and this was a cell cam that I put up, and on that cell cam I got a real big buck, like a real good one, and so then fast forward to that was during the muzzleloader season, so like November 5th, I went back in to try to figure out where that buck might be exiting. So I did some scouting around, and I went up on this piece of topography. It was a little bench and I found a faint scrape line, very faint scrape line. It was November 5th. And I put so there's no cell service there. I put a non-cell camera in that particular spot. And then I went back on the November 8th is the day that I went back to check that camera, and I checked it like around daylight. Checked it on November 6th. I got that big buck again in that spot, half a mile from the cell cam. So cell cam, I have very little service, but enough to get a picture out. Mm-hmm. And then that spot, I ended up getting that big buck there. So I said, and that day, November 8th, was really cold. It's really windy, northwest wind. It's like perfect conditions for deer movement. So I just decided to go. I was going there with the intention of posting up on that scrape line anyway. So I put a puffy in my backpack, and it's a little bit of a walk-in, so you don't want to get sweated up, especially if you're going to just stand there. I didn't have a tree stand or a saddle or anything like that. I was just going to go post up on the ground where I could see maybe 75 yards in both directions. I got there, checked the camera, like I said, got that one, so it just helped me to keep me there. But I wasn't there all that long. I think it was like 8 or 8:30, I think somewhere in that range. And I was starting to get pretty cold, and I was like, you idiot, you got that puffy, take it. So I took the track pack off, took my orange off, binoculars, my jacket off, put the puffy on, put the jacket back on, the orange back on. And I'm sorry, let me rewind a little bit. Before that, it was like 20 minutes or so before that, I rattled.
Okay.
I rattled and called. So I rattled, called. It was a little windy, but I could get the noise. I was just using a rattle bag, which you'll see on the video more than likely. And after like 20 minutes, usually you wait like 20 minutes. That's kind of standard. It's like 20 minutes. If I'm just like running and gunning, I'll go 20 minutes, wait, and go to another spot. But I was planning on staying in this particular spot. So when I was shivering, I'm like, I put the puffy on, start getting dressed, put the jacket orange, and I have a hood on this jacket. And I'm putting the binoculars on with the harness, and it was like I was fumbling with it as I'm like looking down, and I kind of like look up like across the bridge of my nose, and I could see legs coming. And I didn't see antlers or anything, but seeing enough deer, I was like, that's a buck. Yep. I looked down at the track pack laying on the ground, and the rifle's leaning up against a beech tree right next to me, and I was like, I'm sorry. I grabbed the rifle, picked it up, and there was like a little patch of hemlock that were like 20, 30 yards in front of me. Yep. And so he was behind that, but going from my right to my left. And I picked up the rifle, and he came out the other side, and he was probably 50, 60 yards, and it wasn't wide open. Yep. But I stopped him with my voice. He stopped. I see plenty of antler for New Hampshire. I was like, I'm not passing that deer up. Yep. But for a split second, I thought it was that real big one. Oh, man. Because, I didn't really have like a great look, but it was like plenty of antler. I could see the points. You can see the 3 up on top. And I shot, put one right behind the shoulder, and he came running right at me, which was unfortunate that I didn't have the camera on because he's running right at me. And he came like to within 20 yards, and I put a second one in him, buckled him right there. Yep.
But some crazy footage right there.
It would have been good. I did. I apologize. I was apologetic. I'm like, I can't believe. I'm sorry. I took that pack off for maybe not even a minute. Not even a minute. However long it took me to take it off and put the puffy on.
Some of the best videos don't have the kill shots. So
That's true.
I didn't get the kill shot, obviously, but it was a good buck. I think he's pretty old. Like I didn't get him aged. I should have. I forgot. But I mean, he was just under 200 pounds.
What do you weigh? What was
196.
Can't
Nice.
beat that.
196 pounds.
No
so
kidding.
8-pointer?
8 point.
8 point.
What
Eight
what day in
points.
November was that?
That was November 8th.
Yep.
And I said on the video the whole time it was November 9th, which is not true, but it was the 8th. I got my days mixed up.
Yep. Yep. So you were in the area, that big one you were hunting for the most part.
I was I was 40 yards from that scraper. I got that big one.
Any regrets after you were happy?
Not at all. No,
Okay.
not in New Hampshire. Man,
That's a great buck.
Look how many days. I forget how many days I spent in New Hampshire. Not that many because I left and went to Maine.
Yep.
Instead because there was snow up there. So
Had you been to Maine previous to that? Because there was snow right off the bat in Maine.
That
of
first.
November.
Yeah.
that was I was in
Halloween.
Maine before I killed that one.
Okay.
And I missed a behemoth in Maine.
Yep.
The first trip.
That was the
in
first
Maine.
trip. That's when a lot of people smack some big bucks. That
I missed
yeah.
a
before they were running
giant.
around.
Oh, what a buck. I mean, he was 22 inches wide with long tines.
Well, shit, you might as well tell us a story on
Giant
that
body.
now.
Oh, that was that one was cool.
Let's go
So
to
I think
Maine.
that was at day 2 of Maine, the first trip up in Maine, like day 2. I was going to go to where I found a big buck the day before, but there were 2 vehicles in that area, and I just don't want to be that guy.
Yep.
I just don't want to be
That's
that
fair,
guy.
yeah.
So I was like, nope, they're there. I'll go somewhere else. So I went to a completely different spot, never been, and there was a pretty good-sized mountaintop with a big saddle in between. I was like, I'm going to go check out that saddle, and there's some clear cuts up there. So I started hiking up the mountain, and I picked up a buck track. That was not fresh, definitely not fresh. But I was like, I'll take it, and it's going to where I want to go anyway. It's going up, so I'm going to go to the top to that saddle. So follow that buck track. He was making scrapes and rubs, and he was checking doe beds and stuff. And he get up on top, and Jay hooked, went up to the edge of the clear cut, bedded, just like you would textbook. So I get up there. I didn't jump him. It was still old, crunchy bed. Came out. He bedded in that wide open, fresh that year clear cut twice.
Really?
So it must have been in the night, right? He was bedded out in that wide open clear cut.
Yep.
But from that last bed, it was definitely a lot fresher. So I'd been to 3 beds, and he went down through this wide open clear cut, and there was a strip of woods in between 2 cuts. And in that strip of woods, the tracks were smoking fresh in there. Like he'd got with a doe. I assumed there was a doe in there. There was so many tracks, it was like hard to tell. But I got on the other side of it, and it was older cut on the other side, and it was the green growth. A lot of
Nasty stuff.
it was super thick.
Yeah.
But there was a shelf that he was on with that doe, and there was another shelf below. But the upper shelf where he went was super thick. And it was like quiet snow at this point.
Yep.
Sun was out. So I'm like, I went down lower, and I could see where they were. I felt like he was breeding her. There was like hundreds and hundreds of tracks
Just all
in like
tore
a
up.
10-foot circle.
Yep.
I felt like he was, I don't know.
Yep.
But they were hanging out there. I stopped, I called, and I stood there. And I didn't stand there long enough, apparently. Because I took like just a few steps, if that, 1 to 3 steps. It wasn't very much. And I look over my shoulder, and he's taking off. And I just see, and of course, when they're, it looked huge from behind too, but it was one of those like
Yeah.
way over 200-pound deer. I mean, no doubter, no doubter. And he climbed up he was climbing up ledges, and I fired first shot and then fired a second shot, and I ended up getting 3 shots off at him. And then he stood there. And the Browning, I was telling you about this earlier, right?
Yeah.
So the Browning that I have, I can put 4 in it, but it rattles. So something is like depressing the spring too much, and you can hear the shell rock back and forth in the magazine.
It's like very loud, like a deer's going to hear it, not
Click.
just like a
It's
little click.
click, click. I don't like it. It's
Just too
annoying
much.
too,
Yeah.
honestly, and it's like annoying to hear that as you're walking back and forth. So I was pretty fired up at that point. I was super excited. I mean, I just loved doing that stuff. So anyways, I reloaded, and I went up there, and I found hair. I got hair, but that's all I got.
Yeah.
That's all I got. So long story short, I mean, I ended up tracking him for 7 hours, and he never stopped. The first 3.5 hours, there wasn't a lot of snow either, but the first 3.5 hours, he never stopped running. For me, going 3.5 hours, he never stopped like jumping, running.
Bounding that long.
I was 3.5. I'm not exaggerating. You could see it on the
Holy
footage.
shit.
You can see it on the footage for
Yeah.
me. It was like 3.5. I'm like, he is not. I scared.
He was getting the hell out of there.
He was getting the hell out of
Yeah.
that. He went many miles, and when he stopped, he never bedded, never stopped, never even stopped to like turn to like look around. And his stride was like I never got close to him, and I was moving.
He was just flying through the woods
I
all
was
day.
I was moving
Yeah.
fast because I'm aggressive, I'm definitely aggressive, and I never got close to him. That was not one you were going to catch at that point.
Jeez.
So
What was the mood like that night at camp?
I walked away with a shit-eating grin, smiling.
Yep.
You like shooting. You've said it before.
Oh, I love shooting, man. I love shooting, and you don't have to get the deer for it to be exciting and
Exactly.
fun. Really.
Yeah.
That's honestly how I feel.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
You were laying lead at him. He's going up a hill too.
He was going up like
Clambering up some ledge
I
to
mean,
getting the hell out of there.
Steep ledge.
Yep.
No kidding.
Yeah.
God damn.
So that was that first snow. Like how was it? Halloween it snowed or something like that.
Yeah, it was around
Yeah,
Halloween.
Halloween.
Yeah,
That
I think
earlier
Halloween. Yeah, I think it was the next day after Halloween, or maybe it was Halloween.
Yep.
I'd have to look back at the footage.
One of the
but
first days of the season.
One of the first days. Yep. It was right.
Good
so
start.
fun.
Good start.
That was
though.
so fun, man.
So you went back in there. I know you got a Maine buck, and we'll get to that. But did you go back in there the next few days just trying to find him, or was he just so far gone out of there?
I didn't because I was just driving roads trying to find another buck track is what I was trying. And I found, even when I left that one, and right before dark, I cut another one that was like right before dark. So I was like, I went and tracked that buck the next day because I couldn't find a fresher track.
Yeah.
So I took that one the next day. And I never caught up to that one, of course. But I mean, it was just made.
Yeah.
That track was like just made. So the afternoon. So I figured 12 hours. You never know. You never know. But they're moving that time of the year.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that early little bit of snow we had. I mean, we had a bunch of cameras.
You
out
guys
and
were
stuff.
up there, right?
No, I got nightmares from that.
Oh, no.
Don't get me going on that.
We haven't even got into that.
Oh, we haven't even talked about that on another
saving
podcast.
that. I'm saving
Another
that.
time.
We'll talk
Another
about that
time.
one
Yeah.
another time.
I was doe
wasn't-
hunting with my father-in-law, and he was.
You were successful at it though.
We were successful.
Yeah.
We got the state record doe.
I was stuck in Vermont. We'll just leave it at that for now.
That's a whole nother podcast. man.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe we should
I
wait
won't
to have
pick
your
that
dad on
scab.
for that.
Yeah,
Won't-
we can bring him on for that because that's
won't pick
because
the
of him.
scab. Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Do you run much for cameras in Maine or no? You just go
No.
off the cuff?
Just off the cuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I did leave one up there, but I haven't checked it.
Yeah.
I left one
I say
right
you-
there where I picked up that particular track I was just telling you about. It was
Yeah.
it was a pretty good crossing on the road. I literally left the camera like just off the road.
Yeah.
To just move
You never
through
know.
there. Yeah.
You never know.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Because I checked that spot a few days, and there were consistently deer crossing that spot. So
Jeez. Yeah. You don't need much for cameras up in Maine either. Your track record the last few years, you've been knocking them down.
just the last, only been a couple of years.
Okay, so you had some success then
Only
early
been a
on.
couple
Well,
years,
that
yeah.
giant, the big
I mean,
8-pointer you
Started
got.
last year, it was a nice buck, man. That was exciting hunt.
Yeah.
That
which-
one was exciting.
If people are listening to this now and didn't listen to Jeremiah's podcast from last year, go back and listen to that because that buck has a cool story. You're
was-
right on his ass shooting at him.
I was running after that one. I had another one of those this year too, which we'll get to. Running.
That podcast was one of our top-rated podcasts.
Yeah, everybody loved that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
it was just fate that we met up at a gas station up there. We knew each other.
Yeah,
but
was
we
it?
were like,
Right up there, yeah.
in
Up in Maine.
up in Maine.
I remember
somewhere.
that. I was in the truck that day. You guys were chatting. I was like, "Who are you talking to, Greg?"
Oh,
And
you
then-
were in the truck
I was
that
in the
day?
truck.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah, I
know
was just
that.
warming up. I was frozen. I can't remember what we were doing that
No
morning,
kidding.
but yeah, we were coming back and stopped for gas. And I was like, "Who was that, Greg?" He's like, "Oh, it's Jeremiah. I used to work for
Mountain Air.
yeah, Mountain Air." And
Yeah.
no kidding.
That's awesome.
Small world.
And here we are,
Small world.
shooting a breeze.
Yeah.
All for the love of deer hunting. So how was with having been able to scout early October, getting your Vermont bow deer out of the way?
Yep.
Did that help a lot? Or I find like all my cameras and stuff that I run up until like October 20th, sometimes that screws me up. Do you notice that?
100%.
Because the biggest switch is like the 15th, right around there. Not
15th of-
specifically, but
To me, it's middle of
September.
September.
Yep.
They change.
Yep.
As soon as they shed their velvet, they're like a whole different animal.
Yep.
They're a lot of them.
Absolutely.
They just vacate. I was telling you about earlier. I had a couple bucks that are beauties. They're there till mid-September, shed the velvet, and they're gone. And then I get them back December 15th, December 10th, December 11th.
So having that time in October helped you really pin down those bigger ones.
What I would say would help me is I don't go back to like the same area and trying to look for. I just go to somewhere new every time.
Yeah.
Always looking at new ground.
So
New
you're
ground.
not going back in there other than like if you're going to check a camera or hunting your way in.
Yep.
Just something new.
Just some new ground.
That's interesting.
New ground. It's fun. I like the exploring.
Yeah. It's when you find the new
Exploring.
stuff and you're excited about it, you get to go home at the end of the day, you found something new.
There's a lot of woods to explore, so it's I like the hiking too. And then like Greg was saying earlier, get your legs in shape for when the snow does come.
That's true.
So
Yeah.
You're dangerous though, because you don't mind sitting if you have to.
I don't mind sitting.
Yep.
You grew up that way, right?
I grew up sitting. Daylight till dark.
Yep.
Daylight till dark.
A lot of people just can't do that.
I can, but I'll tell you what, this is more exciting.
Yeah, for sure.
There's nothing like it.
There's nothing like
Yeah.
it.
And you said it wasn't that long ago when you started tracking. I remember you saying that last
5
year.
years, 2018.
And that's when you caught
That's when it
fire and
clicked.
then
New Hampshire, 2018. It was one of the, it was ideal conditions for a tracker, right? It was ideal. I had a week off, and we had like 6 to 8 inches of like the softest snow.
Yep.
And I tracked 2 bucks that day. Got on one, saw him, could have shot. Not saying I would have hit him. He was running, but I definitely could have shot a bunch of times, and then caught him again, but I wasn't going to shoot him because I'd already shot a couple bucks, and I was kind of like going to hold out for something a little bit better. It was a smaller basket, younger, little, I think it was an 8-pointer, but it was young. And I cut another track, and within 5-10 minutes I was on that other buck, and he was 40 yards from me. He had no idea I was there.
Yep.
Looking around, and I smoked him. And it was like right from that moment,
this is all I'm doing.
I was
The
like,
snow.
that is awesome.
Yep.
That's
yeah.
awesome. Right.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
You don't have to divulge all your secrets, but being that you ran cameras in New Hampshire and have a lot of success in New Hampshire and stuff, what is it that you look for in New Hampshire more than anything as far as locating bucks? I know you said you had that camera on a scrape, but are you looking for like food more, or are you looking for rut activity like scrapes and rub lines and stuff like that, or how do you dissect it?
Food for sure.
Yep.
Absolutely food. Food and topography. Food and topography.
So you like the geological features and stuff like saddles and pinch points and stuff like that?
Yeah. And most of them are subtle. Most of the good ones are subtle. That's what I've learned from looking at a map. Most of the stuff that you think looks awesome is not necessarily awesome.
Yep. You're right.
Boots on the ground is more important than looking at the map. The map is great, gets you in the area, but it's the subtle.
One of the bowls I sit in isn't even on the map.
Yep.
So it's like the ones that are obvious are going to have people in them.
They're going to have people
Yeah.
for sure. But a lot of them, it looks good on a map, but it's too big.
It's too big. Yep.
So you're like the real subtle, small little pinch points and stuff like that?
Yeah.
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 You're absolutely right. Remember that? Remember we said that
Boots
saddle
on
is
the
the
ground.
ultimate, and then I went up there and it's like
Well, one.
the one. I don't know. I can't really say, but we're like that's the main. That's where all the deer are. Well, that
Oh,
may
yes,
be,
yes.
but you
Yep.
can't. You can't.
What's the
hunt it.
coordinates of that? Great.
46 West.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can find the combination.
Boots on the ground is the most important thing to
Yeah.
me. Like I had one of my brother-in-laws and I said that and time.
Yeah.
And time.
Time
Right.
is big.
Just getting
Time,
out there.
time is big.
I feel like I learned more of my new spots from deer I've tracked from the previous year. Just, you know, it's
A
that.
good friend of mine, that's what he says.
I love
he likes
that.
to track them even after the season just to
Yep.
see where they're going.
It's,
Yeah.
They know the way through the woods more than you could ever even imagine.
Yeah.
And that's how I find most of my new stuff. So like
Yeah.
areas like where Mongo and stuff, we're just following a deer through there. And
Yeah.
yep, this is where they're hanging
That's
out.
where
you
they're
know?
hanging out.
And it's so
Exactly.
subtle, and it's stuff that if you were in there walking around on bare ground not following a deer, you might just
Miss it.
overlook it. You're like,
Might
oh, this
overlook
just looks
it.
like any other piece of woods, but there's something about,
Yep.
yeah.
Where I've tracked in northeastern Maine, you physically can't walk through the woods. You have to track. Like,
Yeah.
the deer go and
They go where
Well,
they
they know the
can.
lanes.
one in snow is where
Yeah.
you have like only way you can really hunt it.
Yeah.
You know, it's so thick in there.
Yeah.
So
How was I heard from a lot of people, you know, reaching out to us from the podcast and on Instagram and stuff like that. How was the pressure in your areas in New Hampshire this year? A lot of guys
Pressure?
or not as many, or about
I
average?
would say it was about average.
Because I heard from a lot of people that
There
the
were-
pressure was extreme this year in certain areas.
There was definitely people for sure. There's people. You can't. I don't care how big the woods are. There's people willing to go where anywhere
yeah, for sure.
for the most. But there's some. Not everybody, right? But
It's more prevalent now than say 5-10 years ago.
maybe.
Just, yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah.
Since
I
on
would-
X,
Yeah.
On X, yeah, that's a good point.
It's made everybody.
everybody brave.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like with fishing too. Ever since all like you got like Navionics and Lake Master and stuff now. I do a lot of bass fishing and stuff. So ever since that came out, there's no secrets. There's not as many secrets
Do you have
anymore.
Live Scope yet?
Oh yeah, I've got Live Scope.
Live
and all,
Scope,
I've had
I
all
got
that,
that too.
and 360, and
I call it cheating.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of controversy over that.
I call it cheating.
Pro league
I got
now.
it. I use it.
Oh, it's awesome,
But I
isn't
call
it?
it cheating.
Yeah.
He ruined me for bass fishing because I don't even like going out on my own boat now because I'm like,
You can't see
I
him.
can't. Yeah, what the hell?
Can't see him.
Yeah, once you fish with it and you go to fish without it, you feel like you're blind.
Yeah,
But
for sure. You realize how many areas are just void of fish.
Yeah.
And you're like, could be
It's just like
fishes
deer.
through
It's
there.
just
Same
like
as deer.
deer.
Yeah.
90% of the woods, right, are empty.
Oh,
yeah, it's
for
true.
sure.
You've got to find the little hubs.
Like a large percentage, maybe it's not 90, but a large percentage is empty, especially in New
It's probably
Hampshire.
darn near 90. Yeah.
New Hampshire, especially, right?
Yeah.
Maine.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, yep. New Hampshire is weird like that. I found it's like completely void of life until you hit like more than Vermont or Maine or anything like that. Like Maine, you put some cameras out and you get a buck here and there cruising around. But like New Hampshire, if you're not in it, it seems like you are not in it.
I've put
But-
cameras up for the whole season and gotten
Exactly. That's what I'm
zero.
saying. Like Vermont, you might have a straggler just like it coming
Yeah.
through, and even Maine like that. But
Yeah.
when you find the spot, it seems like in New Hampshire, it's like, where the hell does this deer come from? And
Right.
there's big ones.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's different for sure. New Hampshire's special in itself.
In its own
Every
way.
state is.
Every state, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They all have something to offer.
We're lucky to have the diversity as far as woods go. I mean, you went to New York this year, and that's different.
That was my
and
first trip in New York. Yeah, I like that.
You'd be going back now, won't you?
I would if there's snow. Yeah.
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 So after your New Hampshire deer,
New Hampshire, I left. I came back home.
okay, so you missed the one in Maine, came to New
Missed
Hampshire,
the one. Came to New Hampshire.
got that one.
Killed that one in New Hampshire on the 8th. And I say on the 9th on the video, but it was the 8th. And then I packed up because snow was coming for New Hampshire and Maine. Like we were all getting snow at that point, right? And I was like, I guess I got to go to Maine. So I went up for trip number 2 into Maine, and I went that night and slept in I drove up most of the way. I got into Maine, and I slept in my truck that night. And then the next day.
Yep. We were texting each other. It was bad weather. Yeah.
That's right. You went up that same
Yeah,
day. That's
yeah.
right. It was a white knuckle drive.
Oh, yeah,
up.
it was. Yeah.
But there wasn't snow.
It was just,
Oh, that's when I was already up there, and you drove up. Like,
There
you better
wasn't,
get up here,
but
'cause
there
the roads are
wasn't
bad.
snow up there.
No.
So I was like expecting it, but they were really going to get it that day.
Yeah.
So the 9th, that day, and then into that night.
Mm-hmm.
So I went into where I found that first big buck. I went back in there and I just dubbed around.
Mm-hmm.
And I even said it on camera. I was like, I'm saving my legs for tomorrow. Tomorrow's the day. Tomorrow's the day. So I dubbed around, called here and there, and just, I enjoyed the day, but I was saving my energy for the next day, for a marathon, which didn't turn out to be a marathon, but it was still. But we got pretty good snow. It was only like an inch and a half that night, but it was enough. And I drove roads. I cut a buck track. Can we get into that?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, take us whatever you want to do.
I drove the roads, cut one good buck track, and I went back. I took that one, and I followed. He was making scrapes. He was checking spots. He never cut another doe track for a long time. I was 2 miles straight line from my truck, and I got up into this again, another like tiny little saddle, and a second buck came in, and they were zigzagging each other, and like I even said on video, I was like, I have to learn a little bit about the Maine deer because they got some big clown feet up there. I'm not used to it, right? I'm just not yet. But the buck I was tracking is definitely a bigger track than the other one, but they both look good to me. And I even said it. I'm like, they both look good to me. So I'm following what I think is the better buck, but they just kept going in and out from each other, and they end up going down, crossing a logging road, and they were probably 50 yards apart at that point. And I remember walking to the left, checking that one, and walking to the right, and I was like, yeah, that's definitely, at that point, I was like, okay, this one is the better buck, for sure. It's a bigger track. I'm not saying it's a better buck, antler-wise or weight, I don't know,
bigger
but
foot.
bigger foot on him. Yep. So I'm following that one. It was not that far. And there was, from that skid road through a block of timber and then a clear cut out on the edge, and I could see that clear cut, and this is where I should have turned camera on.
It's
hard, man.
First year filming. It takes time to
hard.
figure it out.
Yeah, it's hard,
it
man.
does.
It's definitely
It's a lot
hard.
different.
Because I knew I was close. The tracks were smoking fresh.
Yep.
I knew I was close, and they came back together, and there was a doe in there. So I started creeping. I was creeping, and then first deer, I bumped it up, but it was so thick through there. I didn't really know what I was. I don't think it did, because I ended up taking 2 steps closer to it, and I could see it broadside, probably 50 yards. All I could see was one antler, like part of the antler, the base sticking out, and the vitals. What did we say earlier? I like to shoot.
You like to shoot. Self-proclaimed. That's not us saying that. You said
I
that.
do. I like to shoot.
Yeah.
So I flipped a coin, shot, and it was the satellite buck. He came running right at me. Came running right and died within 30, 40 yards of me. He was
good buck too.
Still a good buck.
It was
buck.
It was a 6-pointer, no brow tines. What do they call it? 6-pointer the hard way, right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
But 6-pointer, no brow tines, 173 pound deer.
Yep.
So
It's
I
a
was
good
still
buck.
happy with it. I'm definitely happy with it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
But so I was like, 2 days. I'm like, okay, well now I'm tagged out in Maine.
This is what day is this in the season at this point?
November the 8th. No, I'm sorry, the 10th.
So
November
you
10th.
kill the deer on the 8th in New Hampshire. 2 days later, you're 10th. You're
On the
3 deer
10th.
deep by the 10th of
deer deep.
November.
So at this point, he texts me. He goes,
This is the
he says, find me snow. I said, find me a 4-pointer.
we were struggling at that point.
We were struggling.
Jeez.
Well, we tracked monsters, both tracked monsters that same day.
That same
You
day.
guys
Yeah,
did.
biggest one I've
that
ever
was a
tracked
good day.
that day.
That
Oh,
was a good
shit.
day.
Oh, it was.
Like that was the right day.
I heard one
that
grunt,
was the right
and you
day.
chased one.
I
It
tracked
dove
about
into a
15
river.
miles that day, and it jumped in a river.
Committed
That video's
suicide to
coming
get
out
away
soon.
from you.
No, he just went in, and it wasn't like that deep. He just got in a river, and I could not find. It was at 4 o'clock or the day, and he went both ways. I looked all over. I could not find where he left out of the river. I was dogging him the ass. I was right on his ass, and he knew it. They do that with coyotes and shit, but
So you headed to. So you came
From
home.
there,
probably
I was like,
processed the
I was
deer.
sitting twiddling my thumbs. There was no snow
No
anywhere.
snow.
There was
Yeah,
no
'cause it
snow
was
anywhere.
dry in the middle there.
And I had already bought my mass tags. So I think it was like the middle of November at that point, like 17th, 18th, something like that. I told my wife, I was like, I got to go hunting. So I bought a bow tag. I borrowed some sticks from my buddy, 4 sticks, and I grabbed my bow and shot my bow for a bit, and I went down to Mass and hung out down there for 2 days. 2 days. And I had put cameras out. I'm sorry, like the weekend before, after I shot that one in Maine, I went down and put a couple cameras up in Mass. Yep. And I got a real big one on camera. And he came in at like 11 o'clock in the morning, broad daylight. That's when I told my wife, I was like, I got to go to Mass. So I went and hung there for a day, and there was another spot I wanted to go check. So I went down there, and I ended up finding that buck's shed, which was pretty cool.
How far from the camera, roughly?
3/4 of a mile.
So in that rough area.
Same chunk of woods, but
He's
3/4 of a mile. He's in that. So the second day, I went and hung there, but I'm like looking at my phone, checking the weather, constantly checking the weather. I was like,
Just waiting for a lick of snow somewhere.
called my wife up and I said, I got to pull the pin. I said, New York's getting snow, so I'm going. So I drove back home, back to Vermont, dropped the bow off, picked my rifle up, and went to Walmart. Because in New York, you gotta be in person. You can't buy your tags.
Oh, yeah, that's the worst part of New York.
You got to be in person.
Yeah.
So I had to go to
Walmart.
Walmart.
2 weeks. It takes 2 weeks to come in the mail. You
2
can't
weeks
hunt
coming
until
in
you
the mail.
have 'em.
That's right.
I mean, it's only 2024, right? Who would have an online license system, right?
No, I got to go to Walmart's.
Yeah.
And,
They're all pissed off to sell you one too. You can't find anybody that's.
this
wants to
guy
do
was
it.
decent. Guy was good. That guy was good. The guy was good. He was good. But got my tags and went over there. That was Thanksgiving week, right? Yeah. So
you had a big gap then, November 10th to Thanksgiving. You were just like you said,
Thanksgiving
twiddling
week.
your thumbs.
I was twiddling my thumbs,
Jeez,
man.
That
It was
must have been killing
me.
you.
It was killing me. It was killing me.
Surprised you didn't send it to Canada or something like that.
It was killing me. Well, where I used to hunt in Canada it ends November 15th.
Oh,
so
okay.
You
Gotcha.
you can't hunt there. There's only the short windows. But they did get a lot of snow where I used to hunt. Western Ontario got a lot of snow this year.
Oh, no kidding.
Was the time to go. My brother, he killed a big one up there. Real big one.
Nice.
170s type deer, giant body, just awesome, but not a lot of deer.
Just because of the wolves and shit like
Wolves
that.
and winters, there's what he's saying is like big bucks, but not
just
a lot of deer.
The fittest to survive is the only one surviving.
But some big deer, definitely some big deer. So I didn't go up there, but I wanted to do the New England thing too. I was like trying to
Yeah.
You completed the Super Slam.
close.
Well, I was just thinking
Yeah, I
about
was
this.
Close.
I want to lay the gauntlet down for Jeremiah next year.
Oh no.
You were damn near a New England Slam. I'm
What
going
did
to
you
name that right
Was
now.
it just Massachusetts?
No, he got one in Mass. So he would need
I
Connecticut.
didn't get Mass.
No,
I didn't get
that's
Mass.
right.
You
That's
get the
right.
four
No,
uppers.
four states.
You got to give up on New York. That's not New England.
Oh, dang.
You got to go to Connecticut and Rhode Island.
No, they don't want to.
Rhode Island's still open, isn't it?
They do into the
They
new
have
year.
like a late
Yeah.
season into January,
Yeah.
I think. But
I was just thinking, New England
yeah.
Slam. I just.
If you could complete the New England Slam with New York, Vermont, Maine,
Well,
Mass.
he's
not
saying
New York.
he's saying
New
no
York's-
New York.
You're
York's
saying no
not
New
New
York?
England.
Come on,
Yeah.
the
That's not
Adirondacks
New
are New England. Yeah, it's this New England style of hunting. Come on.
So
Yeah, they like the Giants over there.
So anyway, we didn't mean to cut you out there.
No,
so you
no,
go to
that's all
Walmart,
good.
got your license.
got my license,
Yeah.
and that was like Thanksgiving week. So I spent a few days there, but they didn't have snow early. But I knew the day before Thanksgiving was the day.
Yeah.
Just like Maine, the day before
yeah.
Thanksgiving was like, okay, that's when the good snow's coming. So I'm kind of just learning the lay of the land too.
Yep.
I drove around like the first day. I was wasting a lot of time in the vehicle. I ended up hopping in the woods, and I found a lot of deer. It was crazy. I was like, is this normal?
Spread out or in pockets?
In a pocket.
Really?
It was.
Okay.
I jumped. Man, it was crunchy leaves, and I jumped so many. There were deer blowing at me. I think I had 3 different deer blow at me. 3 different in a mile,
Yeah.
mile diameter, half-mile radius. It was a pretty small area.
shit.
Had 3 blow at me. Found a shed there too,
Nice.
which is kind of cool. I found a bunch of sheds this
Yeah, you
year.
did a good little spread of sheds
Fi-
out there.
5 sheds just out. That one, and there's snow on the ground a little bit.
And you were still able to see.
And I still found a shed. It was kind of cool, but half a 8-point. But I was like, I kept that in my back pocket. Like, okay, I'll come back here if they get snow. So, and I was sleeping in my truck there. It was kind of cool.
Roughing
Yeah.
it a little bit.
Oh, yeah, it was all good.
Yeah.
It was all good.
Now, how do you do that? Do you sleep in the back seat?
Or in the back seat.
Okay.
Or in the back seat. Yeah. So I got one of those. I have a hybrid vehicle, so it doesn't burn anything for gas.
It's a yellow
like-
Ford Ranger, right?
Yeah. But it doesn't burn much for gas.
Yeah,
So, anyways, sleeping in that. But second day, I found another area where, again, I was like, I saw a bunch of deer.
Yeah.
I was like surprised. So, like, I didn't see them. I was seeing like tracks.
Just activity.
From the-
Yeah.
It was like active. It was a lot. I was like, this is not normal. So, anyways, of course, that area never got snow. Never got any snow that you could track.
Yep.
Just a dusting.
But that same area, I was like, okay, we're getting snow tonight. I'm excited. I'm sleeping in that area, sleeping in my truck. I wake up in the morning like hour or 2 before daylight, as I'm an early riser anyway. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning. There's no snow. 0 snow. And I'm like,
What happened?
uh-oh. Okay, so now drive somewhere where I can get service. So I drive, find service, and I'm trying to figure out on a map where there was snow, and I had to drive almost an hour from there, and I found there was like 4 or 5 inches of snow. And it was still dark, so it's not like but I didn't know I hadn't like scouted the land at all, just from maps or anything. So I just went completely blind, parked on the main highway, and started going in on a hiking trail. And
No coffee in you, or you made a coffee?
you're
What's your
big on
morning
coffee.
routine?
I need coffee, but I just need the caffeine. So actually, I just was
Keep the headache
drinking
away.
little Cokes.
Okay.
Like those, are they 8-ounce Cokes?
Little tiny ones.
Yeah, just
little
buy a little
lunchbox
10
Cokes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just have one of those in the morning.
wondering.
That's what I was doing.
I can't hunt without coffee.
I drink like 3-4 a day these
Yeah,
days right now. But
Sorry, it's just the little
no,
details I like.
it's all good, man. It's all good. Yeah. No, I probably will get a jet boil so that I could
got
make,
one of them, yeah.
because it's been 2 years now. I've been drinking. I'm like the lazy man drinking coffee with instant coffee.
Yep.
Okay.
I got hooked drinking it.
Nothing wrong with that.
In Maine last year, and I was like, I kind of like it.
Oh yeah.
I like
it. Tastes good.
So, and it's fast. So I just boil water and pour that in. A little maple syrup, half and half.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't drink it black like some people do. I can't do that yet. I'm not there yet. But anyway, so I went back and hiked in not very far, and I cut a track, and I thought it was a pretty good track. So I took it for a while, ended up crossing the road, getting onto the other side of the road, and I could see where it was feeding, and there were 0 tine marks, and the snow was like deep enough. I'm like, this is not what I want. So I left that, went back across the road, went back onto that hiking trail, and I probably went I don't know, better part of 3 miles before I even cut another track. I was like, this is like a deer desert up in there. I just felt like it was a deer desert. But I had worked my way down in through a swamp by a lake, and then I was coming back up, and there was a decent, not a huge mountain, but like a hilltop. And I said, I'm going to climb up there. I climbed up there, cut a smoking fresh track.
Yep.
But it didn't look very big again. But over there, I don't really know.
Yeah.
I don't really know.
That's the big people that
They
go
don't
over there
have
for the
big
first
feet.
time is confusing.
They don't
is
have
figuring
big
out the
feet.
tracks.
But it was like, narrow stance. So it was not a very wide stagger at all. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, maybe it'll take me to other deer. So I followed that one for a ways, and it did. It took me to a group of, there was 3 or 4 that were in that. But I thought they were all does. There could have been a small buck or a buck. But I just left them. I just left them. I said, all right, here's another swamp. I'm going on the backside now. I'm a long ways from my truck. But I start going to that swamp, and I got into where there was a group of deer. It was 3 of them. Mm-hmm. But they had made a lot of tracks around there. And it was a buck with 2 does. But I wasn't positive it was a buck. I backtracked it, and it made a rub. So I was like, okay, well, it's for sure is a buck. So I'm like, I'm taking it. It's the only buck track that I for sure have found that day. So I took that track, and it really wasn't that far from there, probably within an hour. He was just with 1 doe, and the other doe, or I believe it was another doe, peeled off. So it was just him and a doe, and they were feeding on this one, like this shallow finger that was like tapering off. And they were feeding heavy on this one side. And I could see the tine marks and the snow and stuff. I was like, it's definitely a decent buck. Yep. And on that finger, I just slowed right down, and I did like Joe Donito style. You guys ever listen to him? Oh, yeah. I like Joe, and I like listening to him. So I did his like one step in, because it was warm, it was windy, and it was foggy. So I'm running that red dot, which doesn't affect it at all. In my opinion, it's fine. Rain, snow, it's fine. I don't really have any issues with it. You can still, if it's soaking wet, even a little bit foggy, you can still see the dot and see the target with your other eye. Yeah. And my binoculars were like all fogged up, but they went down around this finger, and I was like, they're right here. I just felt like they're like right here. So I swung up and around, not that far, but I was probably, 40 yards from their tracks, and I swung up high, and I'm peeking, and I looked at like 80 yards, and it looks like a bedded deer, but it's through the fog too. I'm like, that's a deer. No, it's not. That's a deer. No, it's not. Yes, it is. No, it isn't. I was like arguing with myself, but I'm not moving. Yeah. I'm not moving at all. And I'm taking my binoculars, and I'm just wiping them with my fingers to try to get it so I can see through it. And I'm looking, and I still can't see through. But eventually the fog lifts, and I was like, somewhat. And I'm like, that looks like a deer's face. Perfect. It's not wide open. It's fairly thick, but you can see the line of the back of the deer, right? And I was like, that's a deer. And then I got my binoculars like cleared up plenty enough, and the fog just lifted at that time. And it was like I could see the beams, I could see it sticking up. Pretty sure it was 4 on top with nice brows. Not super wide, 16, 18 inches wide, but a nice buck. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's good for me. So I watched him for like better part of 5 minutes. Yeah. 5 minutes I watched that deer because it was so thick. My best shot was like right at the throat patch. Okay. That was like the best shot I had. And as I'm watching him after like 5 minutes, he's just chewing his cud, and he's looking right at me, so I can't move. I just didn't feel like I could move. Yep.
Was he looking through you? Just
like looking through, looking through me.
But if you moved a
he's just sitting there
chewing
his cud, and now it's like he's got a clear path. This is hardwood. It's all beech whips and stuff. I didn't feel like I could move anywhere without him being like out of there. Yep. So I'm watching him in the binoculars, and then all of a sudden his eyes got like as big as pizzas, and he swung his head up, and I was like, he got my wind. So I was like, it's now or never. So I turned the camera on.
Time to shoot.
I ripped off 2 rounds and went over there and never touched him. I never touched him. But it was all good. So then I gave him like, 15, 20 minutes, something like that. And I went slow on the track, and I didn't go 300-400 yards, something like that. And there was a ravine, and they crossed that ravine, get up on the other side, and you can see where they were standing there looking back, waiting. They were waiting. but it was like just on the right amount of time because they walked off from there. And I was like, I'm in the game again. And within a half a mile, I caught him again. I saw him up. I didn't spook him at all, but they went from my right to left above me. And I had to make like this backwards question mark around to get up to there. And I just poked. I got up there. No, I wasn't going super slow, but I wasn't going really fast. But they were milling around up in there. They're actually feeding too, up on these rocks with like ferns and stuff like that. They were feeding. Mm-hmm. And I come around the corner and there's a blowdown like 20 yards from me. He's just on the other side of that blowdown. And I catch him and I fell flat on my back. I like slipped on a rock and fell flat on my back. He takes off, runs to the right, runs up into this green growth up on the very top. And I'm sorry, as soon as he ran, I grunted with the grunt tube a couple times. And the doe come running up to me at like 10 yards. She's standing there staring at me at like 10 yards, not nervous at all.
She just thought you were another deer that just
thought I was another deer. She was like not scared at all. I'm like, here we go. Here we go. So I stood there and I watched her for minutes. And she turned around, flicked her tail, and she just walked off. I could see her at like 150 yards through the wide open at least 100 yards, going through the wide open hardwoods. And I was like, just stay here. He will not leave that doe. Do not move. And I looked back at the footage. I waited there 7 minutes. I think it was 7 minutes.
Just
I stood there
for him to come back
from
down.
when I turned the camera on. It was 7 minutes, and then I just got impatient. I was like, okay, I guess he's leaving her. I get on his track and I followed it, and he was like frantically looking for her. He ended up walking right in my boot tracks, right where I stood right there.
So straight behind you, pretty much.
Somehow he got around me and got right back to her track, and I was like, you got to be kidding me, So I knew better, but I mean,
that's they tell you split a doe and a buck, you better be sitting there waiting because he's.
But how long
back.
do you wait? Yeah, I don't know. I was like, 7 minutes ought to be like good enough. It's the afternoon,
especially if you saw her walk off that far.
Yeah,
you're just waiting. Yeah.
Just wait, and I was like, I had like plenty of lane. If he had came anywhere, I was. But lesson learned. Lesson learned. But so then I got back on him again. And they end up crossing a river, and I was like, how bad do you want it? I went right across the river, right up to almost to my waist, just to go through the river. And I tracked him till 3:30 in the afternoon, something like that. And I got up to where I was right on the edge of state forest, and it's private land, but I thought you couldn't go on that. Turns out I talked to a forest ranger, and that particular spot was still good to go. Open to the public. I didn't know that. I was like, I'm not going. So I turned around. Like that's where I left him. It was right on the edge of the state land. And I was a long way from my truck. Soaking wet, smiling.
Had a good day.
Smiling.
That meant like if there's going to be a horror movie for deer, if a deer was going to watch a horror movie.
Yeah.
The image of his head peeking up over that thing in the fog and just Jeremiah staring at that friggin' deer. That thing must have been, holy shit.
It was one of my favorite hunts of the year because I just love catching them in the bed. Mm-hmm. And that's the only one this year that it was like a buck in its bed that I caught it.
Yeah.
Like last year, I think, was it 3 of them last year? 3 that I caught in their bed last year. But this was the only one.
I got a question for you off that, and we'll go into the actual New York story.
Sure.
This is a question, something that I'm curious to, and a lot of people, the hardest part of tracking is, closing the deal right there at the end. I know you said you're self-proclaimed aggressive when it comes to tracking.
I'm aggressive, yeah.
What percentage of them are you killing where you are like, cruising pretty good, catching them, maybe you're bumping them up, shooting them, versus really slowing down and hitting the creep? Because I feel like I'm 50-50. I mean, I've crept up to them when they're bedded, and then I've also blown them out when I'm just going,
More of them creeping.
Really? Okay.
More of them creeping. But when I say the aggressive is like when they're moving, I'm moving.
Yeah,
fast.
reading the track, flying.
I'm going fast. Mm-hmm. If you were to see me walking through the woods, you'd think, who is that? And he is never going to get a deer because it's like I'm just covering ground, covering ground. But and sometimes it's just, and you're not always right, but sometimes I just feel like you get like that sixth sense, like they're here, and slow right down, slow right down. But that didn't happen to me in New York this year.
No.
Because the one I got,
yeah,
it was just the opposite. I was bumping them.
Was that the next day that you?
No, so that was the day before Thanksgiving that I came back.
Okay,
I came back for Thanksgiving. I was like, I was going to be home for Thanksgiving, and I stuck around for a while actually. So that was, when was Thanksgiving? You guys remember what day that was?
No.
I
can't remember the days.
20
But
something.
I didn't go back until the 27th. The 27th was the next day that I went back to New York, I think.
Yeah, it was
Was
the
it
23rd.
23rd.
23rd was Thanksgiving? Yeah, so I went back 4 or 5 days later. Excuse me. I went on the 27th, yeah. So I went back there. And again, they were forecast to get snow, but there wasn't where I was. There was I found a giant buck, what I thought was one of the biggest ones I've seen over there. Found it from the road, and I couldn't stay on it. There was maybe I said it was 3/4 of an inch of snow or something like that, but it was warm, windy, everything dripping, and it was just melting fast. And they were close to the road, spending a lot of time feeding on beech nuts. Within, a few hundred yards of the road, there was a couple bucks that were fighting. It was cool. I found where two of them were fighting because you could see their back leg coming around, and it was pretty neat to see that.
Up.
Yeah.
So after I messed around with them there for just a half an hour, not that long. I spent around and I couldn't stay with the track. It was impossible with it melting around. And I said, okay, it's either going to go high or it's going to go low into the swamp. And if it went to the swamp, there's zero snow. Zero. I said, so I've made a big circle just high. I said, if either one of them exits high and goes up high, there's more snow, higher elevation. I'll take the track. But if it goes down to the swamp, then there's no point. I'll go find better snow. There was better snow again, an hour away. So that's what I did. So I left. I made that big circle or half circle. Didn't cut anything. I said, nope, they're not going high. They went to the swamp. So I went back to my truck and I drove an hour away, and there was 8 inches of snow there. Crazy difference over there.
Yep.
Just in, short drives. Crazy difference in snow depth. So there was 8 or more inches of snow, and it was good snow, but I went into a deer desert there. So I went but I did find one of the biggest rubs I've ever found.
Really?
It was 16-inch tree maybe.
Wow.
What type of tree was it on over there?
It was that brown ash type thing.
Yep.
But I think, I don't know, somebody who knows trees better than I do might say it's something different, but it looks like one of those type of brown ash. So that was kind of cool, but I just went back that evening and made a plan to, because we were getting fresh snow. We were getting good fresh snow. So I went back to this road where I found a pretty decent crossing. And again, I found the next day, this was 28th. Let me get into that. Right? Yeah. So I see a wide stagger, but they're dimples. I mean, literally, you can't.
Filled right in.
They're filled in, but I was but that's a good deer. That's a good deer. And there were other tracks crossing the road that you could tell what the track was, obviously. But I was I tried to follow that one, but it went down into the swamp, and it just, where the wind hit, I literally disappeared. Couldn't follow the track. I made a couple circles, and I was all right, I'm just killing time. So I pulled out of there, and I went up high. So I climbed up on top of this mountain. It was a horseshoe-shaped kind of mountain with a swamp down below on the backside. And I climbed up to the back of the horseshoe, and hadn't cut a track yet. Hadn't cut a single track. And I was despite seeing all the tracks down low, a lot of them were feeding in the beech nuts, but most of them were baby, little tracks, little, tiny. So I get up there, I'm maybe I'll find a good buck holed up with a doe. You never know. And as I'm going down the right side of the horseshoe, and it tapers off, here comes a nice buck track coming up and over. And I said, it's not super fresh, but it's fairly fresh because it snowed all night long. But it was got snow in it. So I took that track. It was headed towards that swamp, which I wanted to go check that anyway. And I took that track for hours. So that was at 8 o'clock in the morning. A little after 8, that I picked up the track, and I think I went 3.5 hours before he got into a group of deer, and you could tell where he was bumping does around. There was a doe with 2 fawns. There was 2 different groups, a doe with 2 fawns, and then there were 2 does. There were 2 different in the same spot, right by this lake and a swamp. And he pushed the doe with the 2 fawns. You could see where they got out of dodge. And then he was bumping these 2 does all around. And in this whole time, I had bumped him, and I didn't know it. There was so much activity in this area that when I was circling trying to figure it out, I was like, oh, there's beds right there. So I see the beds and I see like running tracks out of the beds, but I'm kind of thinking that he's still bumping the does but it was fresh.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure, I can't be 100% positive, but I'm pretty sure I bumped him. So I had to make huge circles to try to figure out, even though those are running tracks, you almost can't tell in that snow, like what, if buck, doe, it's hard to tell when they're running like that. It's pretty difficult for me anyway. It's pretty difficult. So I wanted to be sure. So I made some big circles and I said, this is my best guess. I even said it on video. I said, I'm pretty sure this is it. It's the buck with the two does. One doe peeled off, went up the hill, even went up there, was walking at that point. The other one was walking and one of them was running. So I don't know if he was walking or she was, but when I say walking, but at like a fast clip. And why I say I'm pretty sure I bumped him, because it was only like 300 or 400 yards from where the beds were, and and they blew at me. So I was like, okay, all right. So now I bumped him twice, right? And this is at like 11 o'clock, right? 11-ish. So I gave him a little bit of time, but not. I gave him, the 15, 20 minutes. I didn't give a half an hour or anything. Gave him a little bit of time, and I got on the tracks, and they were just. It was so cool because on this mountain. This is the one thing that I noticed the whole time. He would not let her leave this mountain.
Really?
He wouldn't let her leave. He stayed on the lower side of her, 20, 30 yards from her, all day long. All day long. He was always pushing her up. He was always pushing her up.
She was trying to come down?
And he was pushing her up. He was pushing her up.
No kidding.
It was so cool. But they were like, it was like running tracks for a long, and I wasn't bumping them because I wasn't close to them. This was like, it got to a point where they forgot about me, because this is hours later, that they forgot about me, and he was just dogging her. He was dogging her. This is another situation where this buck was not leaving that doe. So cool. So cool. So cool to see it. But
not so cool if you're the doe.
Not so cool if you're the doe, right? I don't know what time it was. It was like around like between 2 and 3 or something like that, before I finally caught him.
Yeah.
2 or 3 in the afternoon. Finally, I see the doe, and doe's at like 80 yards.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where is he? Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? I keep saying 80 yards. That's about what I felt like. It was a poke, 80, 100 yards. And I'm like, where is he? Where is he? Where is he? And this is where I'll admit, with the red dot, you're at a disadvantage because I don't have magnification. So I can't like pull up and look and like sweeping around. But I'm like, where is he? Where is he? Where is he? And she takes off like slowly though. She takes off, and then I see him go. So that's the first time I saw him. And I saw bone. I'm like, okay, all right, that's a good buck.
Yep.
And but they weren't like overly spooked. I don't even know if they knew what I was, at that point. Mm-hmm. So then I stayed on him. I didn't give him much time, if I did at all at that point. But I stayed on him. And these things, we went around this mountain 2 different times. So we cut my boot. You'll see it in the video. It's kind of cool. So where I bumped him at one point, I see a bunch of deer hair on the side of a tree where we ran by, and you can see my boot tracks that are snowed in.
Wow.
From earlier in the day. I was like, I know this spot because I've been here before. And it was this one particular spot, just like we were talking about before, where the deer, like, they know where to go.
Mm-hmm. That's where you need
to
just post up. Keep going, buddy.
Narrow. It's the only place you could get up. Is the only spot in this narrow ledge, and he went through there twice. 3 times technically. We went through there, cut my tracks twice. But anyways, so
and that'll be good next year too.
We went up into that ledge,
yep.
And I could smell him. I could smell him, but I couldn't pick him out. He was 20 yards away. He was 20 yards, and he caught me first, but it was like where he was just like it was like a flash of him. Saw the whole rack, but there was no chance for a shot. Zero chance for a shot. I was like, damn it. It's getting later now. I just started dogging him. At that point, I was like, I stayed after him like hardcore.
Run him down
like a jog.
It got to be where it was. Because the whole time, it was just before dark when I ended up getting them. But I was coming around again, and I bumped them. But they weren't going very far. Within the last 2 minutes, I saw them 3 times. And
you're at a run?
I am running at full tilt. As soon as I'd see them and they take off, I ran after them. The second time, so I bumped them that. When I say I bumped them, not like they're not taking off. They're like just I don't even know if I'm actually bumping
just see
them,
the
but I can
deer.
just see them going.
Yeah.
And the second time, deer standing there broadside, and I pull up, but the head is like blocked.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it's him, but I'm not positive.
Yeah.
I didn't shoot. I didn't shoot. But when he takes off, like through the thick stuff, I could see the ball. I was like, I said to myself, damn, that was him. Shit, so immediately, as soon as he took off, I took off. Immediately, I ran as fast as I possibly could run. And within 200 yards, I caught him again. And I don't even know if I should admit this. Should I admit it?
Well, if you don't like it, we can cut it out.
Cut it out.
No, but he mounted her.
Whoa.
Really? With you right there?
I shot him mounting the doe.
No shit.
You son of a bitch. No, I'm just kidding. Did he?
That
Did
is
he get to do the deed?
What?
but that is the power of the doe and heat. Though.
Oh yeah.
Honest to God, he was
Wow.
he was mounting the doe, and
That sounds like a
No
Larry
kidding.
Benoit story. Like he used to tell stories of swinging around mountains again and again and again. And
it was 3 times I went around that
Yeah.
mountain.
So how?
I don't know how many miles I covered. I don't put tracks on, but
Yeah.
I went 7+ hours on that deer. 7+
Right at the
hours,
end of the day.
and a lot of it was running. So
he died happy.
he died happy.
Did he get his rocks off at least? What do you think?
I
It was,
flip a coin. Yeah.
they don't take him long.
Yeah, no, true. How close were you when you shot that time?
30 yards.
No kidding. So he just
30
didn't give a
yards.
shit about you behind him for
Didn't-
that split seconds.
I almost think he thought like I was another buck.
Yeah.
That could very well be.
I almost
I was-
think he thought I was another buck.
When you said he was keeping her
Maybe
up on the
that-
mountain, I was wondering if maybe there's another buck that that he knows about that's down the mountain. and he-
Maybe.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I felt like he would not let her go down. He was always pushing her up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Always staying below her the whole time.
So did he drop there, or what happened after that?
He dropped, and then I put a second one.
Okay,
Jeez.
What a cool
but I got
story,
this,
man.
that shot on video.
That's the one you showed us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. That is a cool.
That's a cool story.
clip. Right
It was
there.
pretty
That's a cool
exciting.
story.
I was pretty excited.
Save the best hunt for last.
I was fired up. That was the best hunt that I had
Yeah.
this year. Was that one? Yeah.
You earned that one.
Was
No doubt about that.
Definitely. I was smoked. I said I think they were just as tired as I was at that point. Like they didn't want to go.
Yep.
It was
That's
one of those
incredible.
ones where they
Hounding
probably
his
didn't
ass all
sleep.
day.
They
Yeah.
probably hadn't slept
Nope.
all night long. He was running them all around all night long, and then here I come along,
Fresh as a daisy.
Dogging him.
fresh as a day. I was too, man. I was feeling good.
Yeah.
I was that time of year. I mean, I was feeling great. I could have gone another 10 miles.
Yeah.
But I was tired. But
Yeah.
like I could.
There's
keep
no
going.
there's no turning off the system when you keep bumping them like that. You know it's going to
There-
happen.
I
all
got
in on it.
to one point though. It was like 2:30 in the afternoon, and they went straight up, and I was like, "How bad do you want it?"
Yep.
Just keep going.
That's a
Just
good
keep going.
mantra.
Like, how bad do you want it? Right.
Man.
never
It's
quit on
it's
'em.
so hard to know what to use for a gun. Like a couple of times the hunt might have been over if you had like different optic, for example. But
I had this.
sometimes-
Shane McLaughlin and I were talking about this. We were
Yeah.
chatting over texting back and forth, and he is all about the scope. And I said, yeah, I agree. I mean, there's definitely you take the good with the bad sometimes. You got to pick your poison. Pick your poison, because there's a couple of them that I wouldn't have got had I not had that red
Exactly.
dot.
Yeah,
so
you
it's
speak
like
highly of that red dot. You've had a lot of success with that.
I like it a lot.
He shot at one
Did you-
with
did you
his
put it-
pump. He would have murdered it.
Oh,
with
the one
scope.
in Maine this year was just too close, and the scope kind of screwed me a little bit, just
Yeah.
because there's so
Yeah.
much movement
There's
and
too much,
just
yeah.
going on, and
Yeah.
way it goes.
And that thing
but-
is it's a liability on those wet days because you're just
You're
wiping
constantly
it out all
trying
day.
to clean
Yeah.
it. Trying to
It's-
clean
It
it.
all comes down to preference, though. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, you
Yeah.
know,
But
some people can't
what a
shoot
cool
peeps, or
that's one of the coolest tracking stories I've heard in a long time.
That's
That
cool.
one?
That's really
Yeah.
cool.
that's a good one.
It was fun. That was fun.
When
I
you
can't
s-
wait to do it again, man.
When you see him up on that doe's back, you must have been shitting yourself.
You
Like,
must have been in
what?
disbelief.
I really was.
Like, are you kidding me? I just jumped this deer.
I really was. I really was.
Like you said, though, it's the power
I
of the
just
rut.
jumped him 30 seconds before that.
Unbelievable.
I mean, it was that fast. It was that fast.
Well, the monster you missed in Maine, wasn't he after a doe too? at
There
the
was a
beginning?
doe with him. I never saw the doe.
Okay, because
I never saw the doe, but she could have gone another direction, or I just didn't see her because I was
missed her.
focused on him.
that's an
I was
example
focused
of
on
the
him.
rut wasn't quite going then, and he got out
Maybe.
of dodge. And
He
then-
definitely got out of dodge, but I also
It
hit
was-
him while I,
Yeah,
got hair,
yeah.
just hair. It wasn't a ton of hair, but I
You
got
packed a decade of experience into 1 year. Really, you did.
yeah.
So
Jeez, that's another good example of you should be in the woods when the rut is going on because you never
100%,
know
man.
what is going on. You can be down in the dumps and have had a shitty 3, 4, 5 days before that and not see a deer.
Yeah.
But if the rut is on, put your ass in the woods because shit like that, it just, you never know.
Yeah.
It's a good way to look at it.
Time in the woods, right?
Yep.
A friend of mine's
Absolutely.
dad says that time in the woods, and
It almost trumps everything. It
Yeah.
really does.
It does.
Like,
Yeah. There's no.
yeah.
Yeah. So this was your first year in the Adirondacks?
First time in Adirondack.
What's your
2
biggest?
trips though?
2 trips, first year in the Adirondacks.
Yeah.
What's your biggest takeaway from the Adirondacks? Good, bad,
I loved it.
things you learned?
Not big deer.
Yep.
They're not big. There's body wise. They're not. I think it's pretty rare to get something over 170 pounds,
Yeah.
What'd
which
that
is still
deer weigh?
fine. That one was 142, 141, 142, something like that.
Yeah.
Not
Good buck. That was a good buck.
I
I'm
was
shooting that every day of the week. I don't
him
care.
compared to the doe.
Oh yeah.
He looked huge.
Yeah.
Comparatively to the doe. The doe looked. She must have been 75 pounds. I don't know. She was little.
The pretty deer out there, the pretty racks, pretty nice looking deer.
Yeah.
The one Hunter Bob got that.
Oh, yeah.
150
inch.
It's incredible. Like
Just beautiful deer.
every once in a while, you'll see just an absolute
Yeah.
freak of a rack buck come out of the Adirondacks. You're like, holy shit! Like Hunter Bob's and
Yeah.
Yeah.
someone shot like almost a 200 incher out of there a couple years ago.
Yep.
Remember
In the Adirondacks.
Yep.
No
Yeah.
kidding. Yeah.
Somebody beat me by 3 inches at the big buck show. I would have.
Was that an Adirondack
had
deer
that 6
or
foot
New
tall
York?
trophy.
Oh yeah.
You just had
Yeah.
to settle for a
3
plaque.
inches. I had tears in my eyes.
My biggest takeaway from the Adirondacks though is the racks like almost don't. I don't want to say it doesn't matter. Everybody wants to shoot a big rack. Everybody wants to shoot a big rack. If somebody says they don't, they're lying, right? But that's not what it's all about. And I would rather go do something like that where there's a lot of freedom and a lot of room to roam.
Yep.
And not, you're not necessarily hunting 200-inch deer. I think it's pretty rare over there.
Yeah.
But
Who cares though?
I really, the older I get, the less I'm
Yep.
looking for the giant rack.
Would you say for
Specifically, the giant rack.
Yeah.
Yep.
Would you say for the Northeast, is the Adirondacks have the greatest chance of an adventure type of hunt of roaming freedom and all that out of the states you've hunted?
Yeah, it's bigger woods.
Yeah. Is that the biggest woods?
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Different though, but different. Yeah, but it's definitely the biggest pieces of woods that I've been in, even compared to like New Hampshire, or Maine is all chopped up. That's my feeling on Maine. Is it's big, but it's like your concern is somebody else going to pick up the same track that you're on because there's another road.
Yeah.
They're going to cut you off.
I think we talked about that last year. That's the biggest thing for me
Yeah.
when I started hunting Maine is, it's big woods, but there's a road over here. There's a road over here. There's never not a way out or a way in. You know what I
Right.
mean?
I mean,
There's only a couple places we went where we felt like don't twist your ankle here because you're fucked.
Yeah.
The rest of it's like
That's the biggest takeaway
Right.
from me.
you're not worried about it.
It's
you guys carry the
the-
satellite
GPS
No, I need
thing
to
there?
get one.
And
Definitely
reach?
need to get one.
InReach.
No,
Yeah,
I
Garmin.
don't.
I'm getting one.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of times where I'm like, if I was hurt, I'd be in trouble.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I should have that.
Especially if we go to Alaska in a couple of years, we're going to need one.
Yeah, that's on the bucket list.
Yeah.
I like that you can like send a text with those. So like if Greg's over 2 mountains over and there's no service anywhere,
Yep.
I can be like, I need help dragging.
Get over
or-
here.
Yeah,
Exactly.
And it's just the peace of mind behind it.
Peace
too.
of mind. Yep.
And then they're not that big anymore.
No, you
They're
throw them in
tiny.
a
You can
pack
just
and
throw
forget about
Throw
them.
them in, forget about it.
Yep.
Yep.
I heard the biggest thing with those is just not accidentally pressing the SOS button.
Yeah.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
heard that before
Oh,
because
geez.
there's a big SOS button on the side of it or something like that. So you watch your hands when you're using
Well,
it.
Hal said on
Keep it turned off.
his
Oh,
podcast,
yeah, I remember he had a thing about that.
he hit it, and the whole town was looking for him.
Oh, no kid.
Yep.
Yeah, I
And,
forgot about that.
He hit the SOS by
jeez.
accident. Yeah. It was a pretty funny story.
Yeah.
So
So you optimistic for 2024?
Oh, yeah.
You got a lot of. I mean, we were talking before. You got some target bucks you're going to be after, and
Yep.
some new areas to roam and all that.
Yep.
I got a morel mushroom venison snack stick recipe for you.
Okay.
'Cause I
Sounds
know
good.
You're into mushrooms.
Oh, you're into foraging?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Nice.
big. He talked
I
about
didn't
it
know
last
that.
time. Yeah. Oh,
No
dude.
kidding.
Mushrooms,
eaten, like-
everything. Yeah, you're into
It's
ramps
like
and
30 different kinds of wild mushrooms that I've eaten.
Jeez.
that's awesome.
What one's the best?
I like chanterelles.
That's my favorite too.
Chanterelles
By
are
far.
awesome. Morels are good. If you deep fry them, it's like the best way. I mean, I cook them up like a steak too, but morels.
It's all about finding the morels for me.
King Boletes,
Yep.
You know, like hen of the woods. You guys ever
I've
had
seen
that?
that. Yeah, I've seen those.
Have you seen them?
I've seen them. If I've seen pictures,
They're
and
like
stuff
the
of them before.
Japanese call them like the dancing mushroom
Yep.
because they're like I can't tell you how many thousands of oak trees I've like looked at, and this year I found 2.
Yeah.
I was pretty excited.
I've
3.
only ever found one.
I found 3 this year.
I've just seen pictures. I haven't
Yeah.
seen one in the woods.
I found 3. They're hard to find.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
I marked 2 of them, 2 in mass.
Oh, yeah. I got some chaga marked in Maine, but I couldn't.
There's a ton of
wasn't man
chaga.
enough to
We just
haul
picked
it out
some
of
the other
woods.
night. My
Did
wife
ya?
wanted some more, so we just went out and picked
Oh,
some
wow.
more.
That's what they're making
chaga.
tea out of, right?
Yep.
Chaga tea.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Greg let me
You
find
have
my
no-
first mushroom this year.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Under a cow patty.
We went
It
Morel.
was up in some moss. I
Under
said,
a
I
cow
want
patty?
He's all in. This spring he was
Do you know
all
what
in.
those are?
Oh yeah.
No, you'd found one a couple days before, and you're like, I said, let me go find a
What was
fucking
it?
mushroom.
It was Morel.
Morel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were popping.
Under a cow patty.
But you're into a lot of stuff, and you're.
I just
you got
love the outdoors.
The fishing and
Just
the
love the
foraging
outdoors.
and-
Yeah, fishing, walleyes, and crappies, man. I just love them.
That's awesome.
They're fun to catch. good
Not
to
much
eat.
bad. You go bass fishing much or no?
So this is not me putting my nose up at all, but
No, I hear you.
I always say I used to be a bass fisherman.
Yeah.
And when I was in college, I went to UVM, and one of the best jobs I ever had was selling perch. I was catching
Yeah.
perch
Buckets
on
with
Lake
them.
Champlain and selling them. That was my food and beer money when
Yep.
I went to UVM. And I was at Ray's Seafood, and I was selling perch, $1.65 a pound whole. You didn't have to clean them or anything. And
That's pretty good money, then.
I'd get $50 a bucket.
Yeah.
So I'd get $50 for a bucket. Back then, that was awesome. Man. That was great, man. And I would do it for nothing. You're gonna pay me, but I made $2,000 that year catching perch in college. And anyways, somebody from New York of all places were bringing in crates of black crappies, and I looked at those and I was like, "What are those? And where do I find them?" I knew nothing about them, but I was immediately taken by them.
Oh yeah.
And what's cool about they're like I say they're easy to catch, hard to find. If you can find them, you can catch them. But it's finding them is the
That's
difficulty.
what the live scope's for, is right there. When it
Live
comes to
scope
catching
makes
them.
it cheating. Yeah, but yes and no. There still can
Oh,
be.
yeah.
They're still a challenge.
They're suspended, and you can't set the hook on them. And there's a whole thing with them.
There's
You
a
know,
whole
you
thing with the
gotta-
crappies.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm hooked on crappies and the walleyes because they're just so good eating.
Oh, for sure.
So,
for
Well,
sure.
we'll have to put together a time this spring and get them on some big bass. It'd
For
be a
sure,
good time.
For sure.
Yeah.
Get everybody in the boat. Go catch some
Every
big bass.
time I go with him, I get a personal best.
Yeah.
So
You're still waiting on your smallmouth replica
Oh,
mount.
I'm
Jeez, you've been 2 years
plus
for that.
years.
No talking about where.
No. Top secret.
So that's top secret.
Jeez.
I got a couple of those.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
But-
Well, you got anything else, Greg, you want to throw in?
No, I just congratulations.
Yeah,
And,
great season.
We're really looking forward to going over the footage and seeing what will come of it. But man, you had some adventures this year. So if even a little bit of it translates into the good videos, we're
Yeah.
gonna be
We'll get on that, start editing them up, and then you and I will link up and go over them and figure out what we got. And
Sounds good.
so if people listening, keep an eye out for Jeremiah's videos coming, because there's gonna be some content coming that you're not gonna want to miss. We just saw a little snippet in the garage. That's awesome.
I was
So
all fired up.
we're looking forward to doing that, and I have a feeling we'll probably be back here again next year this time
We'll have to make
after
it
another
a
successful
yearly
season.
thing. Well,
We'll see.
the ribeyes keep rolling them.
Yeah, we'll be back next month for more. Shit. All right. Well, you got anything else you want to throw in, Jer?
I'm good.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks for
a
coming,
lot,
guys.
bud.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you guys on the next one. You're listening to STAGR Cast, brought to you by STAGR Gear.